Welcome to Flashes of Insight. We're considering what this particular and unique experience for the 21st century and also probably for 100 years, namely the lockdown that's around COVID-19, is doing for the way we celebrate our lives as Catholics. And my question to you all, and just jump in as you wish, where do we go from here?
Well, I'll jump in first and say I've been taking part in a very interesting liturgy here every Thursday evening. It's completely spontaneous. It takes place at 8 o'clock. We all go out onto the street and we clap hands. People bring saucepans and cans and a wooden spoon, and they make a hell of a noise, and it's great fun. It's an idea that started in Spain when they were having the virus a couple of months ago. It was a way of thanking the health, all the nurses and the doctors. And then it's been taken up here in the UK. So at 8 o'clock, the television announces it's the clapping time. All the stations start showing pictures of people clapping, and people spontaneously go out, and we're all engaged in a single activity as a community of thanking. Well, thanking is fundamental. It's the fundamental relationship of Jews and Christians and Muslims to God. We thank God for our being, for our existence, and that's why we call Eucharist, Eucharist. So I'd love to see a situation that instead of just going into the church and listening to a long doctrinal monologue from the priest, which is just going on up there, and then you get something, that we would actually take this experience of thanking the health service and say, hey, this should be our way of being alive as Christians, and banging and clapping and all, and saying, now we're thanking God. So I would like to see that spontaneity of human Eucharist become the spontaneity of divine Eucharist.
And that's something you were talking about, Joe, off camera, that one of the experiences that has struck people in your community is the way in which their prayer life together has become more organic.
We came out of lockdown last weekend and we have a limit of 100 people. So we decided to have a family children's mass. And so it was specifically because a lot of our families have been praying together at home. We provided them with home liturgies and various other resources. And one of the key things was, in conversation with a lot of these parents, how do we bring that back in? How do we keep it going? They were scared that they would lose it in terms of the practice. So they organised the liturgy of the word, a scripture reading, songs and activity. And in the end, everybody present wrote their own prayers of the faithful. And they just sat in their places and took a microphone and they read them out. And it's at the end of that a couple of people, one in particular, came forward and used the word organic. Another one used the word simple. And I think that was the thing that they're looking for going forward, is that a liturgy that is much more about them and simpler and organic rather than constructed and formal.
Thanks. What's happening in Fiji, Carmel?
Because Fijians, as I've said perhaps before, are very religious people, they very much have in their homes have taken on board this whole understanding of Mass and of Sunday. So on Sundays, well, they decorate their houses. So for Pentecost, everything was red. In the center of the altar is because in fact the television is where they watch the Mass on Sunday. But we invited them after the Triduum to send in photos onto Facebook, onto the Archdiocesan Facebook page. And they sent those photos in. People dressed accordingly. They dressed up for the Mass. But for the Triduum, it was really very interesting because they picked up very much from Brisbane, a liturgy at home where they actually decorated their houses with palm leaves, of which we have unbelievably beautiful coconut palms everywhere you turn. So they took a lot of these inside and decorated their homes. For their reading of the Passion, on Thursday, they had the bowl of water, and the bishop in his homily had invited them to wash each other's feet because he preached on that. And we also had a video clip, and I think this has been one of the amazing things about the video masses is that people are getting new ideas. And while he preached about John and John's understanding of the service, he talked about service of each other. So we had this beautiful image, which will stay with me forever, of a father sitting and his little daughter washing his feet, and then a teenage girl washing her mother's feet. And then after that, the bishop said, well, after this is over, go and wash each other's feet, and there you will find Christ in the way you serve each other. So on the Friday, they got together as a family, made crosses. On Saturday, they had part of their ritual was to reflect on their own baptisms and their children's baptisms around water. And I would hope that, while I'm not sure that that will connect back into the church, because I'm not sure what will happen with our masses when we eventually open again, which may be months away. When that eventually happens, I'm not sure that the Prime Minister will allow large groups, which will just, I can't imagine what this will be like. Right now, we are allowed to have up to 20 people for a meeting, for a social gathering, and that's it. There was a time when we couldn't even leave our homes. So we have, we will see what happens. So even if our churches, our priests decide to go back to the way it was, which could happen, then I think our people might be looking for something more, as Joe was saying. And I think our people might say, and if they can't, if it won't be possible at Mass, I think the family liturgies might become a big focus for them.
Thanks, Carmel. Thanks to you and to Joe and to Thomas. Thanks for being with us on Flashes of Insight.